You guys know I love to rant about injustices, and a recent injustice involved the beating death of a homeless schizophrenic man by the name of Kelly Thomas. Now, this beating death happened 2 years ago. However, the two police officers that were involved in this case, Manuel Ramos and Jay Cicinelli, were dealing with very, very harsh charges for their involvement in the death. Now, both of them had charges including involuntary manslaughter, second-degree murder, that was Manuel Ramos, and Jay Cicinelli faced an excessive force charge and also involuntary manslaughter. Now, for those of you who have seen the video of the beating, it's absolutely clear that the 6 police officers that were involved in that situation had already subdued Kelly Thomas. However, they continued beating him. In fact, Cicinelli tased him in the head twice. And even though there were 6 police officers there, they felt the need to continue beating him and use excessive force. Now, the video was clear to me, and I thought that it would be clear to the jury. However, apparently they decided to acquit both of these police officers for their involvement. And that makes me angry for a number of different reasons. But the number one reason is our treatment of the mentally ill here in the United States. So that's just one example. Another example that got under my skin recently was a story that we did on the Young Turks. We talked about South Carolina prisons and the way that they treat mentally ill inmates. Well, it turns out that some of them are held in solitary confinement. They're not being fed. They're being restrained to the point where their intestines are coming out of their bodies, and I know that that's really difficult to hear about, but that was a story that we discussed on the Young Turks, and I was hoping that it would get some attention because it's a big issue. Well, that video only got about 30,000 views, which might sound like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really nothing. Our most viewed video got 27.5 million hits, and it's about a woman who orgasms 300 times a day. Now look, we cover a ton of different stories, but I would hope that every once in a while we cover a story that gets enough attention that it leads to some kind of change. But the reality is we do nothing about mental health care in the United States. In fact, I am experiencing a regression when it comes to that issue. Just to give you a quick example, we have cut a significant amount of funding for mental health care. From 2009 to 2011, the states cut mental health care budgets by $4 billion, a combined $4 billion. And just recently in 2013, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration experienced a $168 million cut in spending, and that was because of sequestration. So this is really, really frustrating because anytime we have a mass shooting, we always use the mentally ill as a scapegoat. We always talk about how we don't need to do anything about guns. We just have to do something about video games, and we have to make sure that we take care of the mentally ill. But the reality is we continue to abuse them. We continue to neglect them, and nothing changes. Nothing happens about it. And it's time for us to really get our priorities straight, because if we're really concerned about our fellow Americans, we would do more to fund mental health services to ensure that these people are treated appropriately, and we would do what's necessary to stop cops that use excessive force against the mentally ill. In fact, why don't we have a training program, a standard training program to ensure that cops know how to deal with someone who's schizophrenic? We don't even have any type of uniform policy for that. So this is a really big problem, and I hope that this video provokes some thought and causes some people to do something about it.